Good morning on this mild Monday. We're in a new era of activism with Occupy Wall Street and Black Lives Matter, anti-Trump protests, and the Women's March. And though these events draw hundreds of thousands of demonstrators, most of whom are carrying a camera phone, it can take a seasoned professional to convey their spirit. With Black History Month drawing to a close, we spoke with Leroy Henderson, a photographer who witnessed the events of the civil rights era and is among the few photographers of that generation to have captured them. Mr. Henderson's 5-decade career included covering the 1964 rally at the 369th Regiment Armory in Harlem, a clash between black nationalists and members of the Nation of Islam, after Malcolm X's break from that group. And he shot photographs of the civil rights leader Ralph Abernathy, a minister and a close friend of the Rev. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., speaking in Central Park. His portfolio also includes portraits of Rosa Parks, Jesse Jackson, and Coretta Scott King. I purposely sought out to be in these places because I wanted to document everything I could about my time, said Mr. Henderson, 82, who was born in Richmond, Virginia, and has lived in the Bedford-Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn since the late 1960s. His photos have appeared in galleries and exhibitions, including at the Smithsonian Institution and the Brooklyn Museum, and more recently appear on the cover of a history book that explores the social perspective of that era. There's a double duty, Mr. Henderson said, of attending demonstrations as both a citizen and a documentarian, because you're there and want to be a part of these things, but you need to be selective in what you shoot. That work continues, said Mr. Henderson, who has more recently documented pro-immigration demonstrations, Black Lives Matter gatherings, and the inauguration of the country's first black president. People out there are fired up and they're vocalizing it. Things are still ongoing, he said. Here's what else is happening: a bright respite after a rainy weekend. Expect clearing skies and a high around 56 today, with temperatures barely dipping below 40 tonight. Full on sun tomorrow, with a high about 57. We've just about landed in transitional weather limbo, that time when we stand before our closets with absolutely no idea how to dress. The investigation into the death of Eric Garner has dragged on for over 3 years, leaving his family awaiting closure. New York Times: an alleged rape at Yale University may determine whether college rape accusations are best handled by internal university panels or law enforcement. New York Times: mini golf, or an aquarium. Architects have submitted their ideas for a design competition seeking to fill a 9-block stretch of Park Avenue. New York Times: volunteers will offer tips and instructions for how to hold elected officials accountable for failing subways. AM New York: the Department of Health is warning people in the New York City area that an Australian tourist who visited several attractions is confirmed to have had measles. Staten Island: lived today's Metropolitan Diary, one apology too many. For a global look at what's happening, see your morning briefing. The novelist Pete Hamill and the author James McBride discuss what journalists can learn from fiction writers and vice versa, at the NYU School of Journalism on Cooper Square. 6 p.m. Free, RSVP here. Living for It, a monthly comedy show with actors who have appeared on Saturday Night Live and Comedy Central, at the Living Gallery in Bushwick, Brooklyn. 8 p.m. $10 Monday Night Magic at the Players Theatre in Greenwich Village. 8 p.m. $42.50 Addicted to Don Juan, Misusing Sex Addiction Across Art, Neuroscience, and Psychology, a talk with academics and performers, at Caveat on the Lower East Side. 7:30 p.m. $15. Looking ahead, Time Stocks presents an evening of conversation and performance with the Grammy Award-winning musicians Ben Harper and Charlie Musselwhite on March 5. Nets host Bulls, 7:30 p.m. Yes. Knicks host Warriors, 7:30 p.m. Message. Alternate side parking remains in effect until Thursday. For more events, see the New York Times' Arts and Entertainment Guide. 25 years ago today, at 12:18 p.m., a small cell of terrorists detonated 1,200 pounds of explosives they had planted in the parking garage of the World Trade Center. 6 people were killed, more than 1,000 were injured, and over 100,000 people evacuated the area. Today, at 12:15 p.m., the 9/11 Memorial and Museum in Lower Manhattan will host a tribute. At the northwest corner of the northern pool of the Ground Zero Memorial. 3 minutes later, there will be a moment of silence for the 6 people who were killed: John DiGiovanni, Robert Kirkpatrick, Stephen A. Knapp, William Macco, Wilfredo Mercado, and Monica Rodriguez Smith, who was pregnant. That was the moment that New Yorkers had their confrontation with terrorism on a global scale, said Alice M. Greenwald, president of the 9/11 Memorial and Museum. Last month, the museum unveiled a new installation for viewing. A roughly 3 to 5 foot model of the World Trade Center parking garage, designed by the FBI to convey the scale of the damage created by the bomb. The installation will remain on display until March 5. New York Today is a morning roundup that is published weekdays at 6 a.m. If you don't get it in your inbox already, you can sign up to receive it by email here. For updates throughout the day, like us on Facebook. What would you like to see here to start your day? Post a comment, email us at newyorktoday@newyorktimes.com, or reach us via Twitter using hashtag NYToday. Follow the New York Today columnists, Alexandra Levine and Jonathan Wolfe, on Twitter. You can find the latest New York Today at newyorktoday.com.